My name is Louis DeSantis. I'm the managing partner, owner of Sign Shop Illuminated here in Colorado Springs. I am also the president of the Colorado Sign Association and the president of the Mike Rumpf Wrestling Foundation as well. With the Colorado Sign Association, we try to strengthen the community within the sign industry, bringing together partners and suppliers and vendors to help our industry here. And then with the Mike Rumpf Wrestling Foundation, we try to put on events and raise funds to give that money to student athletes of the wrestling program at CSU. So we actually met Andrew a few years back, actually at the start of COVID when he was first starting out his business. And he honestly reached out to us needing a few signs for some tournaments he was going to be putting on and hosting. And through that initial conversation of helping him out set up those first few events with signage, we rolled that into a friendship and a partnership that eventually led to us having the Mike Rumpf Wrestling Foundation put on an event with Andrew, and then also the Colorado Sign Association hosting an event with his help as well. For the Colorado Sign Association and the Mike Rumpf Wrestling, we never had a golf event ever. And with the Sign Association, I was trying to create more events, raise more money for our association so we could provide more valuable values for the sign industry. And that was one of the easiest ways to get people together, allow suppliers and vendors to be able to set up tabletops, promote their product and services to the sign company, but also bring us together. And with the Wrestling Foundation, it was really trying to raise money. And this was our first thing, our go-to. And when I met Andrew, we just kicked it off and he just seemed like a really good guy at the time. So that prompted me to want to bring him on for both events. And from there, we've continued to hire him every year after that. So never having these events being hosted by either company and association I'm involved with, we really didn't know where to start, whether it was the marketing and promotion to actually contacting the golf courses. How do you set up the scoring? How do you set up the events from the tents to the food, the drinks? And I honestly didn't want to run any of it either. So the services that Andrew provided, which was a white glove service, completely hands off, really intrigued me because I wanted to bring in an expert that knew everything, had all the contacts, and really allowed us to help on the periphery with the event, but then also be able to partake in the event as well too, which is why I really wanted to bring him on because I wanted to play in the events too. So we first hired Andrew, had to have been in 2023. We held our first event in July for the Mike Rumpf Wrestling Foundation. And then the following August, we had our first CSA event as well too. Throughout the year, we had multiple meetings with Andrew, just check in saying, hey, we're going to start marketing at this point. We've already scheduled tee times and the course reservation. Now we need to work on what vendors and suppliers are we going to get for sponsorships? How are we going to provide the food and the drink? And with those quarterly, every month check-ins, really up to our discretion how much we wanted to meet. Andrew was super accommodating, continued to give us updates as to what's done, what needs to be done, what marks do we need to hit when it comes to registration, tent sponsorships, overall money that's being brought in. From the start, we really didn't have any expectations for either event. Obviously, for the Wrestling Foundation, we wanted to raise some money to build those funds and pass that on to the kids. So we were hoping to raise at least $5,000 profit at the end of it. And then with the CSA event, I was honestly just hoping to break even because I didn't have any expectations. I just wanted to start this event to put it on the calendar for every year to come after that. And then the hopes we could raise money down the road. And fortunately enough, both events profited tremendously, which allowed us to fund the event, but then also divvy out those funds for other items that we wanted to take care of. And now those events are self-funded every year. We don't need to raise money to put it on or to hire Andrew. They're able to fund themselves, which allows us to continue to increase those profits with what we offer in the events, from specialty polls to prizes and gifts that we can provide to the participants in it. So it's just continue to improve every year. It's really much we can be hands off, and he is on top of it the entire time through constant communication, reaching out to the courses, the sponsorships, just going over and above when we ask him like, hey, can we add this year? Can we maybe bring in a specialty brewery? Can we bring in some specialty food? He does all the communication. And that's why we continue to bring him back every year is we have so much other stuff that we have to handle as business owners or running associations to divvy out that time to also run an entire event would take away from those other items. So the hands-off part is why I love working with him and why I want to keep bringing him back every year, because he is the expert and we fully trust him to make sure this is a success. Because if we're successful in it, we create money, we create profits for the associations and the foundations that we have this for. All it does is increase his profits in the end too, and make us want to bring him back. So he takes full reign of it. He owns it the entire time, which is a huge help for us not having to worry about anything. Yeah, so for the between the two events that I have had to run for me, we range from rate profiting 8,000 to $13,000 when it's all said and done. Everything's paid for, and that's been continuous over the two events over the past 2 years of ranged from 8,000 to $12,000 in profit. Every year too, we've continued to grow in participation. Started with Micro Wrestling Foundation. We had about 110 participants the first year, increased that to over 120. With the Colorado Sign Association event, we had about 90 participants. And then this year we hit about 115. So we've also increased our participation each year, but that's also because the events run so well and so smooth. And if it wasn't for that, then people wouldn't come back. So each year it's continuing to build on itself. And that's just because of the help that Andrew has from setting up the event, breaking down the event, having it organized down to the tea times, to the presentation times. And it runs so smooth that it's starting to catch on with more and more people that maybe didn't participate the prior year or wanting to come and check it out the next year. And then people that did play, they're all coming back. They loved it. Everyone raves about it every year about how well it goes. A lot of the people that come and play in these type of events have been a part of golf charity events where you're there for 8, 10, 12 hours a day because it's typically ran poorly with slow tee times, slow playing, presentations taking too long, and it goes from being there at 8 a.m. and you're there till 5 or 6 at night, which no one wants to be. We're pretty consistent between starting at 8 a.m. ending around 2 or 3 every day. And that includes presentations, food, drinks. And that's just one of the things that allows it to gain traction every year is that it's ran so smooth where there have been no hiccups at any of the events that we've had. And it makes it enjoyable when the day drags on too long or things seem out of sort. A lot of people probably don't want to participate the next year or have a bad taste in their mouth about it. But ours have ran so well every year because of Colorado Under Par that it just makes the events grow year over year. It's 100%. If people are having a good time, they're spending more on the raffles, they're spending more on the drinks, they're wanting to donate more than they normally would than if they weren't enjoying themselves. I know a lot of people usually leave. We've had good participation with how well the events have been running that we get a lot of great donations from other sign companies to people associated with the Wrestling Foundation that they know what they're giving to and donating to is going to be worth it in the end for the participants because of the type of event that's being ran. The thing that's good from the Sign Association is that we have people that come to these events that are not members yet. And it's a great introduction to them to the sign industry, different suppliers and vendors, where we actually get them to be members after the fact because of the time that they had during this particular golf event. So it's allowed us to increase our membership. We first were doing it something to just bring the sign industry community together just to keep the members that we had. But what we've seen is we've been able to gain more members year over year because a lot of time this is their first introduction to the CSA. So that has been a nice surprise for us. And then with the Micro Wrestling Foundation, it's been where we have it in CSU Pueblo at the golf course close to there. We get a lot more members of the community in Pueblo to join this that we didn't know had any relation to the wrestling program at all. And so we've seen a lot of people donate outside the event too, just because they know what we're trying to do. We've been able to promote Micro Wrestling Foundation. And in turn, that's gotten the name out to people that we would have never even had any communication with. He's my go-to every year. Right when the event starts, I start talking about the next one and he's on top of when we got to get things scheduled. It's really just being able to set it and forget it and just let him run with it. And that allows us to have that free time to do other things. We did the signs for the pickleball here in Colorado Springs, and it's like the premier place for pickleball in the US. And they're looking to expand. I think they have about 24 courts at the one here in Colorado Springs, and they're hooking up with USA Pickleball too. And they're like the premier place to go to right now. And so I was like, man, if you ever get involved in any of that stuff, we are very close with the owners. Just met with them the other day again, and they're looking to expand into New York, Florida, Austin, California. And that's just another avenue that he could tackle and be successful at. It's fantastic what he's been able to do and what he's been able to grow, especially when we met him 4 or 5 years ago now when he first started. And what he's been able to build it into is pretty incredible. It's the only option if you want to host a premier charity event for whatever organization or association you have from start to finish. Andrew is going to be the one to ensure that your event is successful, and it'll make you want to keep going back every year as you continue to see it grow. It was just one of those things where we were down in Pueblo. Andrew typically helps with the presentation of the awards, getting everyone gathered together so we can end our event appropriately. And all of a sudden we had probably 70-mile-an-hour winds kick up out of nowhere. Tents started to fly all across the course. And we were trying to figure out how we can continue to end the event while also trying to make sure that nothing got damaged throughout the course. And without even batting an eye, Andrew hopped in the golf cart with his wife, and they started going around and taking care of those things, making sure nothing got damaged, gathering everything, and just let us continue with the event, which is not something I think everyone would do. They would just say, oh, we'll just take care of it after. But it was just small little things like that that Andrew thinks of or just takes on his own to make sure that the event goes right and smooth, when maybe some other people would just basically say, oh, we're running the event, we'll let the golf course take care of those things. It was just those little details and that little bit of caring, more of knowing that he wants it to go well and just owning what needs to be done has to get done. So it's not like we could step away. So it's just things like that. I think that add up in the end as to why we continue to use him. Absolutely, I would recommend him to anyone and everyone that's even thinking about putting on an event. Without a doubt, he is the premier event for charity golf events, especially, that I would go to. And I recommend him to my customers, my vendors. If they don't have anything, other associations and foundations, I recommend him to everyone, just because I know how good he is. And being to other events that he's not a part of, it's not even comparable to how they're ran and what they're able to profit for those specific organizations and associations. In the end, he's by far the best in the state. Start as early as you can. There are just so many things that take to host a successful event. And it starts with getting on the timeline early and having a detailed plan of what boxes need to be checked by certain times, so you can ensure that the food is correct, that the drinks are correct, that the sponsors are there, that you're getting participants, that you're selling tent sponsorships, that you're selling whole events, that you're having people donate for prizes. It's not something that can be done in a week span. And that's where I think planning and starting significantly early is one of those things that would help someone, because you don't know what you don't know. You don't understand how much is truly involved in running an event to ensure that not only is it successful on the numbers wise, but also that the participants are having a great time and wanting to come back the next year. Because that's usually why people are doing this. They're not wanting to do a one-off. They're wanting to make it an annual event. And the only way to do that is to start off successfully and have a very strong first showing and first year that creates that buzz for people wanting to come back. So starting early is one of the best suggestions that I could give to someone. It's not something that can be done in a week or a month. It takes a good year to plan this out and let it be successful. It's just one of those things. I can't recommend him enough. I give out his contact information to all my vendors and suppliers, all the schools and the colleges that we deal with. Even when I go to an event, I recommend Andrew to the people that are running that event. The people that I know that are hosting it for whatever their association is, I still give out Andrew's contact information, because even if I go to a good event, I know he can make it even better. And I just believe in him a lot to care enough for that event to be successful, that I just can't recommend him enough. He's very good at his job, and seems as if he's constantly updating his drink provider list, the food provider list, his contacts for donations, the software that he uses. He recently updated that this past year and it went fantastic. He's just not someone who is saying, I nailed it from the start, this is what we're going to keep going with. He's looking to always improve his events for himself, but then also the people that are hiring him to do the job. And in the end, we're the ones that benefit from his hard work and willingness to continue to reevaluate every year how they're doing something and what they could do to improve. It just doesn't seem like he's getting complacent with, I have a good list of events, they're running smooth, we nailed it. It doesn't seem like he's standing still or treading water. So that's why I just can't continue to recommend him enough, because he's the best at what he does, and the events that he's taken on speaks for itself. I text and call you all the time, man. You're the man. I can't thank you enough. Putting up with me, board of directors that I introduce you to, having to deal with all their comments and opinions. It's incredible to see how far you've come, what you've been able to do from when we first met, buying a couple signs, and at the start of COVID, where you were starting an outdoor event company and honestly didn't know how it was going to go for those first few months with everything that was happening in the world. And to see you persevere, to continue to see you grow in what you've built. Proud of you, buddy.